Good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. As usual, it's time to do a bit of business. Even during the holiday, we start as usual from the global space. Oil prices settled up $1 on Wednesday after 3 sons of a Hamas leader were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza Strip, feeding worries that ceasefire talks might stall. And we see what this has done to the number. It's brought Brent back to that $90 level, $90.48 a barrel. It gained 1.2%. For the United States, it's gone even above that $85. You know, it's $86.21 after it gained 1.2%. And we know, of course, that Israeli military that confirmed that attack, describing the 3 sons as operatives in the Hamas armed wing. Mexico's decision also to curb crude exports in order to supply domestic refineries is also another factor that's feeding into the prices today and led to a record low U.S. import of Mexican crude in early April. Now, in early trade, oil prices fell after the U.S. government yesterday were expecting that data show that crude oil and fuel inventories swelled by much more than expected on weak demand and lower oil exports. U.S. crude stocks climbed by 5.8 million barrels in the week ended April the 5th, more than double the rise of about 2.4 million barrels analysts had expected. Refined products inventories rose unexpectedly, with gasoline up by 700,000 barrels and distillate stocks by 1.7 million barrels. And this according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. You know, yesterday also the U.S. Inflation data came out hotter than expected, 3.5%. So I don't know if we're still going to have that interest rate cut by June, or if the Federal Reserve will want to do or change that date a bit. And then we come to Nigeria. At least we have a bit of good news. The exchange rate for clearing goods at the port has dropped further. Second time is now 1,238 naira 17 kobo to the dollar. That's according to data from the Nigerian Customs Service. This adjustment represents a 6.8% decrease when compared to 1,246 naira adopted just 2 days ago. That drop in the FX rate for customs, tariffs and duties is coming amid the Central Bank of Nigeria's effort to stabilize the naira. We've been seeing appreciation of the naira in the last couple of weeks. On April the 8th, the Apex Bank announced the sales of Forex to Bureau de Change operators. It was about $10,000 and they sold it at 1,101 naira to the dollar, with, of course, the instruction that they cannot go above 1.5% spread when they are selling to the customers. But one thing is, we see the naira appreciating, but we haven't seen a reflection, you know, in prices of commodities. And we remember when the naira was depreciating, immediately there was a new rate. We saw it reflecting. And because traders and business people would tell you, oh, they need to up the prices because they want to restock for when they will restock. Now I wonder what's happening. We're watching and we will ask those questions as and when due. Now we'll go to the corporate. FBN Holdings PLC has revealed plans to raise up to 300 billion naira through public offering, private placement and rights issue. The group, in a notice to the Nigerian Exchange Limited, that's the NGX, said that capital raise is subject to approval, obviously, by the regulatory authorities and the shareholders at an extraordinary general meeting to be held later in the month. The capital rise, according to the group, would be from either the domestic or international capital market. And according to a statement by the bank, the capital raise transaction shall be by issuance of shares via public offering, private placement, rights issue in the Nigerian international capital market at prices to be determined by way of a book building process or any other valuation method or combination of methods in such tranches, series or proportions, and at such periods of date, coupon or interest rates within such maturity periods, and upon such other terms and conditions as may be determined by the board of directors, and of course subject to approval by the regulatory authority. FBN Holdings said after the completion of procedures for the allocation, the new ordinary shares, the memorandum and articles of association of the company will be amended as necessary to reflect the company's newly issued share capital. We do know that banks have about 24 months to meet up with the new capital that has been announced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, next week is going to be very busy for both the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Now, the IMF is in preparation for that. They've revealed that financial institutions lost a total of $12 billion to cyber attacks in the last 20 years. Out of this amount, $2.5 billion was lost between 2020 and 2024. And that's according to the IMF's April 2024 Global Financial Stability Report that was released. And this is even as the body expressed concern that the rising incidence of cyber attacks on financial institutions globally could affect confidence in the financial system and destabilize economies. According to the body, financial firms, given the large amount of sensitive data and transaction they handle, are often targeted by criminals seeking to steal money or disrupt economic activity. And citing JP Morgan Chase as an example, the IMF said that the largest US bank recently reported experiencing 45 billion cyber events per day, while spending 15 billion on technology every year and employing 62,000 technologists, many focused on cyber security. So I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise because, you know, with activities, economic activities going to the internet, well, the criminals will also want to take advantage of that. But next week, we know that the spring meeting begins in Washington, D.C., and World Bank is turning 80. So they've already started meetings and all of that. So, well, here in Channels, we hope to bring you the details of it, so you just stay with us. All the meetings, especially as it concerns Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Now, we've been talking about how macroeconomic headwinds, how it's affecting different industries. And then one major one has been in the build industry. The build industry, of course, because you need a home, even you're watching from a home, so you need that house, and you won't have peace of mind if you're not staying in your house. You're thinking of the rent that you're going to pay. Let's look at the impact of these economic headwinds in Nigeria on the build industry, especially the building materials. Global data shows that Nigeria's construction market size was $136.6 billion in 2023, and then it's supposed to grow at about 3%. Between 2025 and 2028. And investment, of course, we know, goes into that sector. Then that sector has a whole lot of value chain, you know, connected to it. Let's take a look at some numbers, some of the change in price over time when we talk about the price of construction materials, especially in recent times. Let's take a look. I wonder if we could have that slide of the construction prices and how they have changed in recent times. There you have it. So you see, well, this is not from me, obviously. The prices that have changed in recent times, we see sharp sand has moved from 63,000 naira to 193,000 naira. Wow. How do you handle this? You know, and then plaster sand has gone from 115 to 230. I don't even know the percentage. If you look at 63 and 193, this is like, is it 200% or something? Obviously more than 100%. Granite, 180 to 500. Maybe I'm exaggerating. 4,700 for cement. You know this. You're very familiar with the cement story. Yes, and we've seen the president delve into this also. Iron per ton, 310,000 to 1.5 million. Can this be true? Tiles, 3,500 to 6,000. And then blocks 9 inches. Used to be 180, the blocks. I don't know how many you would need to build like a 2-3 bedroom flat. Now 515 naira. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but let me talk to someone who is in the build industry. Chief the Group Chief Executive Officer of Zealous Group International. He joins us in the studio. He's Dr. Oluwatosin Olatunjoye, joins us in the studio now to tell us, perhaps I'm exaggerating, Dr. Olatunjoye, good morning, and happy holiday. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Do take a close look at these numbers. Perhaps there are some that are exaggerated. Is this what it is? Sharp sand used to be 63,000 naira, and now it's 193. I mean, the jump is just so much. And plaster sand, you know, just what are your thoughts? What do you observe? Please tell me this is a wrong number.
No, it's actually the fact. Because if you look at it, even if you don't look at other ones, if you look at the cement from the list,
yeah, because that one has been very big in the news. That one has
been, alarming, because before now we're buying cement for 4,700, but as we speak now, cement is being sold for 10,500. But thank God for all the strategy implementation that government have done in order to start bringing down the price gradually. But I can tell you 100% that recently we've bought cement for about 10,500.
Yeah, but I mean, we're promised 10,000. That's what I remember.
Exactly.
So 500 is for logistics.
So
So you're saying that actually these prices, these things, are they imported? What has contributed so much? And I mean, this is within this year, or is it since last year?
This is this year, early this year. We're battling with this high cost of
What has
materials.
contributed largely to this? I mean, it's just so...
All right, so basically what I've seen that have contributed to this is actually, cost of materials. Cost of materials determine...
when you say cost of materials, cost of sharp sand?
Cost of sharp sand, all the materials.
Imported?
Okay, so basically, if you look at the sharp sand, there are factors that increase the price of sharp sand, which is diesel. Because most of all the trucks that bring the materials to site always use diesel. Then, if you look at diesel price is no longer the same price again. And I can remember diesel was around 1 something, 3 something, but now diesel is almost going to like 800 naira and 800 plus. So looking at that,
I think diesel is more than that now, because even Dangote that is selling about 1,000.
1,000 something. So
1,002.
Where do we want to put that? If diesel is around 1,002, 1,003, and the cost of material in terms of sharp sand before now is 63. So definitely the high cost of diesel has actually resulted to the high price of sharp sand.
So can we say now, because they used to buy it, I think, up to 1,500, 1,600, that now that Dangote is giving supply to domestic users, and there's a bit, or there should be a bit of stability of prices, yeah. Can we expect these prices to go down? All
right, so what's one of the things that I've discovered in our economy, although government are really trying all possible best to, regulate some things, I discovered that there's a challenge in terms of price stability and also regulating price to a certain amount. Because it is our country that you see things go up and it's hard to come down, despite the fact that the diesel price is going down now. So we expect that the prices of all these things should start going down, the cost of materials. But we are hopeful. At the moment, we are seeing some changes, because I believe cement now is now going down to like 8,000 plus.
Has it gone lower than 10,000?
So at the moment, it's going down lower than 10,500. But some other suppliers are still selling 10,500 because there's no price regulation. You see, no price regulation, no price stability.
What about blocks? Is that also a diesel thing, because they need diesel to make? I mean, going from 180, aren't you going to build houses anymore?
All right, so the main challenge is not about the block. You are seeing the end user. You are seeing the end products. Block, there are some things that made up the blocks, which we are going to use cement. All cement that are being used to mold block are all being imported, and the price of cement goes up. So automatically the price of block will go up. Price of sand go up, then automatically the price of block will go up. So, and that is the reason why you're seeing a shift in terms of price. The price before now is 180. We still have some development we've done that we bought blocks for 180. But at the moment, the price is 550 for 9 inches block. So this is definitely going to affect the end users, which are the people that are going to be buying the houses that we're building, because we can never sell the houses at the same price we're selling before.
So, I mean, when you talk about affordable housing, I think we should just throw that out
I think we should be looking at flexible in payment. That is flexibility in payment. Yes,
not affordable.
There's nothing affordable again.
Maybe we should do I mean, if you look at the scenario in America, a lot of times they use wood. You know,
to build.
Perhaps we should do that, because this is a lot.
It's a lot.
You know,
it's a lot.
I mean, what is my salary? How am I going to afford building a house? Or do I just give up on that dream? You know, and even when you talk about flexibility in payment flexible installment payment, I mean, it all comes down to this, because you want to make profit, obviously. So you're going to do your markup price and all of that, apart from what you have spent. And if you're going to stretch it over a couple of years, you're going to consider inflation, and you're going to add that also. At the end of the day, how much do I have?
All right, so basically, I think we should start looking towards alternative construction materials. Because I've seen that we need to invest majorly in research in the country. Because if we look at some other countries that are building with all these materials that we're talking about, I've seen a country that they are building, instead of using iron for decking, they are using bamboo. I don't know if you know bamboo. So that is what they're using for replacement of iron. So in our country, I think it is high time. And if you look at those places, maybe their soil is different from our own soil. Look at Ireland, for instance. You cannot build with just anyhow iron, because the water has some element of salt. So you have to build with solid iron, which is TMT, you understand? And by so doing, we need to start making research about our country to know exactly the kind of materials we can use as alternative construction materials. And when we put that into consideration, we'll start developing or discovering new ways at which we can develop at a lower price.
I wonder if sentiment will allow us to do that, because I do know there was a time that the use of containers, you know, that are used to shipping, you know, was coming up. You know, but a lot of people are like, people would think I don't have money. That's why I'm turning to containers. You know, and if you want to use wood, I know that in America, where they use a lot of wood, the type of wood you use is very specific. And the maintenance of that wood, because you can imagine if insects eat into them, then it becomes another disaster. So I wonder the sentiment around alternative building materials.
Okay, so you mentioned container. A lot of people have built houses with container. But the fact is that there's still an element of importation in container, because we don't produce container here. There's iron that needs to be, you know, used or put together to build up container. So that if that element of importation is in container, then we can start talking about there's no way even the price of container before you can construct it into a building will not be high. So maybe basically what we could be thinking about is how to go to the bush and start cutting wood, Iroko wood, and start putting it together. Then maybe now using that to build a house. And I believe that this is not the kind of house every one of us want to have. So
there goes the sentiment. There goes the sentiment.
That is not the kind of house everyone. You know, in the olden days, most of our forefathers doesn't use all this block, iron, and all that to build their houses. Some use mortar. Some use the wood part of what they can easily go to the bush to get and build, and they are all living fine. But now we want to level up, we want to be like US, we want to be like UK, we want to be like all these people.
Well, those guys are also they still use clay. I think it's burnt clay, even though it's more expensive in Nigeria. They still use wood, you know, but I mean, they're very careful about the kind of wood, processed wood that is being used. And our mortgage system, is that helping?
Okay, so mortgage system in Nigeria is available, but the question is is it accessible? So it's available very well, but sometimes to have access to the mortgage financing in terms of buying assets could be very difficult. Mortgage processing could take you like 1 year. So you can build up a mortgage system for yourself by saving towards a certain period of time, then use that as your own personal mortgage to buy a house. Because looking at all this cost of materials, it will be difficult for some people to have houses for themselves. And this will return to us having an increase in terms of our housing deficit in the country. So there must be something
large,
which is alarming because population keep increasing every day. So we have to start thinking critically on how to put a lot of solutions on table.
All right. Well, we'll leave that thinking to you. Who will do the talking? We'll do the talking. Dr. Oluwatosin Olatujoye,
Yes.
The group CEO of Zealots Group International. Thank you so much for your time. Please do the thinking and send us solutions.
No problem.
We will appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, I mean, it's scary when you look at the jump in the numbers, and doesn't look like we have a solution anywhere close. And as Dr. Olatujoye had said, the prices have gone up. Things are beginning to stabilize. Do we see the prices coming down? So sometimes it looks like Nigerians are actually hurting themselves, But we'll watch and see. Perhaps it's too early to say. But yes, the market has been on holiday for how many days now? But tomorrow, hopefully there'll be no new announcements of the holiday. The markets will resume. Let's see what we can expect at the NGX, the stock market. It's been a bearish run at the NGX since last week. The market has been bleeding. Investors have been taking a lot of profits, perhaps taking profit for the holidays. Well, now the holiday is over. We have to get back into business. Let's have Afolabi Gbenro join us now. He's a stockbroker with IBTC Stockbrokers. Join us now. Hi, Afolabi. Good morning. Happy holiday to you.
Good morning, Annie. Happy holidays, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, so just straight up, do we expect the bearish sentiment to continue by tomorrow?
Yes, I think, and speaking to the bearish sentiments, like you mentioned, it started last week, just right after the news about the recapitalization of the banks. I think that obviously created a little bit of uncertainty for investors. So we started seeing some profit taking, like you said. Interestingly, though, amidst that profit taking, we also saw some buyers. Some of this was also foreign coming in to take positions. I think if we hadn't had that, then we'd have probably had a worse performance from the banks. So the banks have been the ones that have been driving activities mostly since last week. Maybe if you strip off a couple of other names like MTN and the likes. But I mean, speaking to your question directly, we saw some of the results from some of the big banks just after market close on Monday. UBA, GTCO, Zenith Bank released some decent results. So we're expecting that investors might, start looking at those names again, and hopefully that may turn the tide in the direction that we have been seeing since last week.
So we've seen FBN Holding release at least a part of its plan, towards the recapitalization. Of course, we expect more of that. And but of course, investors will also look at their statements to be sure if they want to get into it. Or I do hope some investors will not get into the wrong bank, because we don't know how many banks will survive.
Yeah. And I mean, even just speaking to that point as well, I think generally, if you look at the whole investment climate, with the way T-bills have been performing, the rates that we've been seeing in treasury bills, it hasn't really been so positive for the equity market. So with this additional capital raise that needs to be done, there's obviously a lot of questions as to what exactly is going to happen. And I think that's part of the uncertainty that has been driving the market towards the bearish side. So I think we'll just continue to watch and see how things unfold. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
All right. So apart from FBN Holdings, what about outside the banks now? We've seen a lot of results, but it does look like the results are no longer motivating investors' decision anymore. Maybe I've missed something.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it as well, during the full year results are the ones that usually come with corporate actions, and corporate actions are what typically and historically has been a catalyst for the market. I think almost every year, looking as far back as I can remember, once you put money in investors' pockets, investors are happy and they're likely to either invest in something else, or some of it finds its way back into the market. And so, I mean, looking at it now, as corporate actions are being declared, we're expecting that some of this money will come back into the market and possibly be a trigger. But I also think a lot of the results had been priced in. The way the consumer companies had performed, it had been expected, obviously, because of the way the dollar had risen and all that. So I think investors are still probably processing and seeing exactly how things are going to play. But I believe that once money starts to come into investors' hands, when dividends are paid, we will see a portion of this come back into the market, and that could possibly be another trigger for the market as well.
All right, to be looking forward to that trigger, especially as the market opens tomorrow. Thank you so much, Afolabi Benro, for your time.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
All right, let's take a short break and we'll be back just before we get back to the Sunrise Daily studio.